Hello, internet. Sorry I'm late. Don't like being late. But good news, doesn't look like anyone was waiting for me. That's okay. Shall we start? Hello, welcome to Fully Defined. My name's Chris. I'm a certified SolidWorks expert, and I'm here to teach you how you can make the most out of using SolidWorks as a product designer or engineer. And I show that in a bunch of different ways. I have a lot of content on the site. I have the school community page, which you can see up here. It's pretty small, but people can get in there and look at all the lessons and courses that I have set up in the past and run and go through at your own pace. It's pretty much all free. And every Thursday night, my time, I look to do 2 hours of streaming where I can answer any questions anyone might have, any questions people have posted in my school community or sent me through Discord or LinkedIn or otherwise. And if I've got no questions, then it's free time for me to do some SolidWorks modeling and some design work, which is what we're going to look at here today. Last week we did some work on some speed modeling, so using Toby's website, how you can get into that website, go from a beginner to the tier 6, some of the harder models. Today we're going to do some design work. And so if I flick over to this screen here, this gives you a little bit of an idea of what we might see in future live streams. And if I get any really good suggestions, or if you have any good suggestions for content or for modeling that you would like to see done live, I'll add them to the list. Okay, and I'll pick from those as we go. So it's great to have a series of ideas, tasks, things to do, things to answer for people, and because that's what it's all about here. Helping people, having a bit of fun, doing some SolidWorks modeling at the same time. So for today's content, we'll see how we go time-wise, but I wanted to introduce people to what is one of the most common uses for 3D printing for those people that have their own 3D printers at home, which is organising. And there are lots of different places you can do that organising. Some of them is like, just trying to flick over the screen here. All right, so some people might be organising on a wall. This is a multi-board wall. Multi-board is a system of kind of octagons with threads in them and the holes where you can mount to the wall, and there's a bunch of accessories. Everything I've done here I've customized, so a few little brackets to hold things and little clips. That's one way of doing things. Another way is Gridfinity. Gridfinity, which I'll show you here. Just waiting for that to flip over. Gridfinity is a modular system of storage. And these are not just for or meant for a wall, it's actually a lot more for drawers. This has been, you could say the original place was from Zach on his website or YouTube channel. There is a Discord where you can learn more about Gridfinity. What's good about this from Zach Friedman and everyone else that contributes to it is it's pretty much open source. So you can, if someone's already thought of it, generally they've put it up online. And so you can download whatever you might need. And there's lots of different places you can find it, not just on this gridfinity.xyz site, but you can find a lot of things also on MakerWorld. Okay, this is one that I'm interested in looking at some point, doing some cable organizing for my drawers. Or, you know, you might find other ones on, here's some on fangs. Okay, so more things. So, and lots of different 3D printing places and websites and platforms, you'll find stuff on Gridfinity. I am yet to do a couple of videos on Gridfinity on my channel. I have done Gridfinity for most of my drawers in my study, most of my drawers in my workshop, but I'm seeing a lot of great content out there on that. So I'm not going to cover it from that angle of just how you can do it. I'm more interested in how you can use that kind of system and create something that's going to suit whatever your needs are. So really on the customizing side rather than just downloading and 3D printing something else. Which brings me to my topic for today, which is these medical organisers. Now, for a long time, I've had, and here's the background. Okay, I've had this box. It's a slow flip over. I've had this box sitting in our wardrobe since we moved here for 5 years. So it's got a few eczema puffers and some tissues and some lip balm and some eye drops and some hearing plugs, various creams and other ointments, etc. And for a very long time, it's driven me nuts that it's sat there, but just not quite enough for me to go and spend the couple hours I need to design my own organising system for this. Which brings me to this stream and this time where I've got 2 hours that I can dedicate to putting something together for this, to get rid of the box and make it much neater. And I was inspired by some people that I saw at a market in Sydney recently. I bumped into these guys. I'll just show you here. Let's see, so I bumped into the guys at Muse, I guess it's called. Mr. Purple, hello, welcome to the stream. Yes, we'll be doing some design stuff tonight. So I saw these guys and I saw their little store. Very nice, quite simple system. Asked them a few questions. And yeah, it just reminded me that, hey, I've got all the tools I need to do something pretty neat for my own storage. Now, if we searched online, we could find like hundreds of different examples, but I just wanted to give these guys a shout out. I also really love their socials, which they should really have a link on their website to their socials. That would be a good idea. But Instagram page, really good, lots of cool content. Anyway, I think we can do something really nice with this, with some pretty simple geometry to create something that's much better than a box. So I haven't really thought too much about the brief, about what I'm going to be creating here. So we're kind of going to do that on stream, live in the next 2 hours. So the aim is to get to something where it's organized, okay, where maybe I can throw out some of the boxes that I don't need, probably put a cover on it, because keep dust out and just keep it organized. And I guess we'll think about that as we go, as we start to build up our design. So I really like designing on the fly, which means I don't necessarily love sitting and sketching for hours and really working out a solid plan, which every designer can do it differently. I like to get a quick idea in my head and then move very fast through 3D where I can start to picture proportions and how it might come together. Our first step for this is going to be actually organizing a bit of a plan for how we're going to set things out. So I'm going to bring up this other camera. I hope this works. And so then we'll be able to see what we can do from a layout point of view. And once we've got a layout, then we'll be able to, on the desk in front of me, work out the position of these elements and then start to move them from, the actual objects in front of me to 3D on the screen and start to lay them out, maybe in an assembly, maybe as a multi-body part. If you have any preferences, Mr. Purple, where you rather see assembly or multi-body or anyone else watching, I can follow that kind of direction. So I'm going to bring up this zoom camera. There we go. And there I am too. So this lets me show you what we're looking at. So a couple of the objects, we have a ventolin puffer. So that's one. Now we might be too zoomed in, so that's okay. There's two of these, which I'm going to need to store. We have some eye care, I think it's cleaning stuff. Lens cleaner. All right. We have some gel heels. So this is like an interesting example where I probably don't need the packet anymore, but if I had somewhere to kind of sit that would be much nicer than what it is. A lip balm in a box. So obviously we could take this out, get rid of the box. That goes with the eye care cleaner. I have some eye drops. All right. So those are in a packet. So somewhere that you can put like an open set of eye drops, because I don't mind it being out of the packet. Obviously don't want the box here. Don't need that. So I get to chuck that out. Make room for some tissues. We need a little thing to hold some earplugs. Vicks inhaler. Some nasal spray stuff. Now, random creams, Band-Aids, other ointments. So a couple of like, this is like a half-open Band-Aid, get rid of that. All right, so I'm going to get pretty neat. These are some other earplug things. Some expired tablets, which we'll keep. And then some good stuff. So ibuprofen, some other tablets. Now I need to have room for expansion, of course. And then the main ones that I use is like our Panadol and our hay fever stuff. So there's a couple of boxes there. Now I'm going to see if I can adjust this zoom level to bring it right out so that we can work on how we're going to organize this. So let me just bring that up. So I just like to lay it out in one place, because then what we can do once it's all out in position, and I'll just flip back over to this. Oh no, I'm already at max zoom, so I can't go out anymore. But anyway, I've shown you the objects here. I'll be able to come back to them and show you as we're modeling in some detail. So talking. All right. Yeah, I'll show more of that as we go. What I can do is put this one. Now we're ready to go and start modeling. Beautiful. Okay, so you can see there's a big bunch of objects there. I think what we'll do is we'll map these out in a multi-body sketch. Because I like working in multi-body. I don't need to edit and swap between different files. So although it can be limiting in some cases with how you control the sketches, the benefits are it's all just in one file. I think this is a good way to do it. We'll see. All right, so what I'm going to do here, I'm on my top plane, starting a new sketch, and I'm just going to put all these things to the side. And what I'm going to do is go through one by one and just create a profile for them, basically like a position that's going to show, you know, how big it needs to be to hold that section. and I'm going to label it, and we'll build up from there. So let's start with something really simple. All right. So if I'm going to put this one in first, for some of these it's going to be really obvious, and for others the shape not so much. So in this one, it's a circular part, so I'm just going to measure the bottom, 17.58. I don't need stuff to be super tight, so I'm just going to give this a circle, 18 millimeters. And here's a little trick that I use a lot for my dimensions. I'm going to name this, you can put a name on a dimension like this by typing in the text over on the left, pressing enter for a new line, and just writing. Okay, so in your dimension text there, it actually gives you a note for what that is. Now you can see what I'm doing by having this in just a sketch. I'm able to move that sketch around, so that object's done. I'll just put that over on the right. Move to the next object. All right, now I'm only going to work in 2D here, but it's going to be very easy to basically build up the sketch and then just move things around very quickly without worrying about mates. So this one, I'm measuring here the larger section at the top, just in case I want to stack them up, and that's under 41. So this one, 41, I'm going to click on the text, click enter, and go earbuds. What is this called? Earbuds tub. All right, now I have 2 of those, but I'm probably going to stack them up. So I'll just sit that over on the right. Now, if I want to save as I'm going, just close the sketch, save the file, and then I can open up and find Drive to save it. The home, new folder. Medical organizer. All right, very neat. Then I'll come back and keep editing the sketch. Okay, so I've got those 2 tubs. And then some of the bigger ones. So this process might take about 10 minutes. But once it's done, we have a really good idea of everything that we need to fit. And we can work out what kind of space we want to put everything else. This is prednisolone. All right, so I'm not defining any of the locations yet. I'm leaving them underdefined. I'm just going to put a series of dimensions in here. And keep building up. So when I'm measuring these, I'm just going for the round parts to start. And I'm adding, up to 0.5 millimeter around the outside. So that if I know if I use these dimensions later as a cut, like a hole, I'm not going to have any issue with something fitting in. Okay, lip balm, this one, take that out of the box. This will be a good example to see if we can find sample products as well. So I'm going to show you a website I've used a lot in the past called GrabCAD. If you haven't heard of GrabCAD, I think it's changed quite a bit, but it can be really good to find CAD files to download and insert and use for different things. So let me show you that now, because when it comes to this inhaler, It's not a simple shape on the bottom. Like it's a bit partly round, partly oval, with a flat surface. I just want to see if we can find a CAD file of it. So I'm going to open up the website here and go to grabcad.com. And if we go to the community library, they have over 6 million free files. And I'm going to search for something here. I'm going to go asthma puffer. Just see if anything comes up. Nothing. Puffer. Doesn't look like I'm going to get any luck here. I'm spelling it right. Yep, no models. But let's use another example like earbud. All right, so you can see lots of different earbuds here. Now we have some earplugs. Maybe I should type earplug. And so it's showing you a wide variety of different ear-related products. Some earplugs here, some much more advanced designs, and you can search through different software to find, only SolidWorks files or whatever it is you might need. Often it might just be a step file you need. Okay, but nothing here to help me today, so I'll just keep going. Which means to do this profile, we're going to have a look at the shape here, and I'm going to use like this shape here, this size, 49. It's just under 49, so I'll do that 49 circle. And then it's got a straight section here, which is about 24. And then the whole width, 54. So if I grab, let's say, a line here, just come down, straight up. So I get the tangency on both sides, get them equal, make that 24. Now I hold shift to get the outside of the circle, make that 54. And I just want to get this midpoint in line here, vertical. All right, and now this shape, trim away that. That gives me the rough shape of that asthma puffer. Now I don't need to add a note for that one because it's so obvious what it is. All right, what else? So the earbuds here, I'm not actually going to create a shape for them because they'll just need like an open pocket. So a bit of a plate or room to hold them. If I want to keep like this little soft tissues pouch in a good space, what I can do here is just roughly do like a rectangle. So 58 by 24 should be enough. But we could go a bit bigger, 60 by 25. All right, so that's our tissues. Then we've got, so eye drops here. So the eye drops come in little containers like this. Normally there's 5 of them in a line, 4 or 5. So if I was breaking them out of a container like this, I want to have enough room for this shape. So this shape, roughly 64 millimeters. And then either way, I drop them in like this or like this. But it's got a thicker section in the middle. So let's just measure around that, which is 10. So what we go? 62 by 10, or 62 by 11. We'll put that in. All right, so this one, here's another way you can do the dimensions, and you can see this is a little bit different from the diameter text. The diameter text doesn't give you a top and bottom row. The text here does. I'm not sure why that's a difference, but it exists. So in this case, that text goes underneath the line of the dimension, whereas on this one, you can see it's all together in the same place. Okay, little tricks there about the text. So eyedrop's done. Now for these like small tubes, empty tubes, I think we'd just do a circle for these, just bigger than whatever the cap is. So it's going to be 18. And I'm just going to write tube. And a smaller one, 13, tube. Now all the sketches that we've done here, it's going to make a lot more sense in about 5 minutes when I start manipulating and moving these positions around. Now if we want to save, just accept the sketch, save the sketch, keep going. So the last couple I've got are the boxes. Some of the boxes are open, some not. So something like this, there's a lot of tablet packets in there. So if we did one packet, and then we can just work out how many we want to fit, probably a maximum we want to fit a full box. The full box could have 10 packets. So we want to do whatever one is by 10. So let's say we've got one here. So this blister packet, it's 42 across and 6.5 wide. So let's go like 43. 43 by 7. We're going to say this is a Telfast packet, 10 required. Right. Easy. Next one, similar thing. Look at the packet width, nearly the same. And by 5, a little bit smaller, by 6. We could say the same thing for this one. 43 by 6. This is Panamax packet, 10 required. Okay. Then I think we leave some room for boxes. There's some sleep pills, but with a prescription on them. So in this case, we'll just do the whole box. 43 by 23. And last one, ibuprofen. Again, these aren't super clear what they are by the packet, even though my wife's a nurse. I probably want to be able to just identify what they are and keep the box. So 62, let's go like 63 by 27. 63 by 27. All right. Now we have nearly everything done. I'm going to chuck them all back in this box. And then we've got 2 more things to add, and then we'll get to designing. We've done this part very quickly, which I'm happy with. All right, last one has little cloth thing. You know what? I don't think I need this. I've got plenty of these around. And some heel shields, which are used for sport. What's that like? We'll take it out. I don't know if I'm ever going to use these. I think this might go in like a secondary type thing. So I'm just going to put this one on the side. Don't know if that's a more regular thing that we're going to put in. All right, so we're done with that Zoom cam. Let's go. Now we can design. And now we can do our layout. And so first thing we're going to do here, save. We've got our sketch. And so I've got all these sketches around, nothing defined, only dimensions. So you can see all the blue text. And for all the rectangles, I did center point rectangles. So you have a few options when you do your rectangles. You have a normal rectangle, and there's a few other options down here you can see. But center rectangle gives you that center point, okay? It does 2 construction lines and the center point. That makes it really easy to drag and use as the center of the rectangle, which is why it's always my preference to do that center point one. Hello Kev, welcome to the stream. We're doing some design and we are designing a custom organizer, not necessarily like this is just an example, but we are doing an organizer for all my medical stuff that's been sitting in a box for the last 5 years. And so we're just aligning or working out all the different positions we need. We'll then design this organizer in such a way that we can expand and retract when we need it and get it ready for 3D printing, make it look good. So I'm working out now, I've got the size of everything, I'm going to work out the position of all of those things. So I think one of the first things I'll do is grab all the squarish type stuff and put that all in a line, probably towards the back. And then work out what we need as far as, packet spacing for some of these things and boxes. So like we might work and say, these 2 things are boxes, right? They might go over here. We have some tissues, some eye drops. They might go over here. Now eye drops, that was only 1 packet. I might want to allow for a few more. So a really simple way of allowing for a few more is going to be grabbing, I will include everything. So I've selected everything in that box. I'm going to do a linear sketch pattern. And I can see that each box is 11. I need 11 for that. I need a little bit extra space if I want a divider in between. So let's do 13 millimeters. And then I just work out how many I want. So let's say I had 4 packets at max of this. So I press OK. And now I've got this section, which is all grouped together, and I can move as one. I don't think mine will be stackable, Kev, because I don't have big enough. I don't have enough. I have one sort of small box, not small box, one shoe size box, roughly, of things. But I just want something that's better than a cardboard box. Something that's more specific to my needs. Great question though. All right, so the Telfast packet here, I need 10. Now, if I have those 10, I can put them all in a line one way, or I could do a bit of both. So again, I can do a linear sketch pattern. I'm going to add on 2 millimeters for the gap. And I can go 5 one direction, and I can go 2 in the other direction, which would be 45. So I could do it like that, or I could go all in a line. And so that's going to come down to how everything else plays out. So what we're going to do right now, I think I'm going to leave it as single row, but we can always come back and change it. Now this is something not a lot of people know that you can do, but if you want to edit a sketch pattern, you can right click and there's a way you can get to it. just have to remember how. I might be clicking on the number. Sketch tools. I don't think it's that. I think that's going to create a new one. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to find it. I've seen the tip recently. It's not something I use very regularly, but it's definitely possible to do. Edit linear pattern. There we go. So I selected one of the elements from the pattern, and I get the edit linear pattern option, and then I can come back and change the numbers. So that's how we can get back in and change not only the numbers, but like whether there's a y-axis pattern as well. FBV Kev, wedge-shaped cardboard organizer about shoebox size. Exactly. Everyone's got like cardboard organizers for these. I could download something, but whatever I download, it's not going to be customized to what we have here. That's the aim of this. I like having my stuff custom. All right, so I've got the Panamax box here. I need 10 of these packets. Okay, a bit like the Telfar. So we'll do a similar thing. We'll go 8 millimeters. And I'll go for 10 of those. And okay. Now I'm starting to get a lot of relations in this sketch. I'm fine with that. Actually, I didn't want to turn them off. I'll just turn them back on, which is here. View sketch relations. If you do get a lot of relations, you'll get that auto warning, but this is still not that many, so I'm not too concerned yet. I'm going to turn that off. No, I don't care about that. All right. So there are my packets. Now you can see I've kind of worked out a bit more what I need. We can start to work out how we're going to align things. Are we going to align things by center, or are we going to align them by edge type? Because we're going to align them by center. Now that's a couple of boxes there. I can grab the center points of those rectangles and make them horizontal, for instance. And if I want these two to be linked, I can put a dimension between them. So let's say, do I want 2 millimeters here, or because they're separate items, do I want to give them a bit of space, like 10 millimeters between them? But now those two are linked. All right. So as we start to add more of those, we can start to link more of our objects together and progress that spacing. I'm just wondering on the best way to do that. All right. Let's do a few more of these circles. Let's try and get some of the circular items in place. We've got lens cleaner, nasal spray. I wonder if there's any order to this stuff. If I think like this is some ear stuff, earbuds, nasal spray, ear, lens cleaner, tablets, lip balm. This is the puffer. Okay, so I'm going to have 2 of those, a couple of random tubes. So I think these kind of all can kind of go together. I know that there's 2 of these earbuds tubs, but I think I'll just stack them. And I also need one larger tub for the open one, packet that's open, which is this one. So I'm just going to roughly measure what that might be. It just needs a little dish place to hold it. About 50 millimeters. So click on the dimension, type in my note, open earbuds. All right. Now what I'm kind of looking for, as I see all this stuff on screen, I'm trying to group it together and I'm trying to visualize how it might sit. Like it's going to sit on my shelf. It's not going into a drawer or anything. It's kind of tucked away. I'm thinking, do I need to have different levels to it? I need to make sure I can reach over things? Or is it something that I'm just going to slide out and then I can pick out really easily? So as a designer, I'm trying to work through, those questions in my mind as I'm looking at the sketch here. Hey Kev, the tablet dispenser turned out all right. Version 2 is currently in use. It's not stuck to the cabinet like I designed it. It is sitting in the overhead cabinet, which actually makes the ramp work quite well because I just pull straight off the ramp. It does need some more refinement though. So when I do that next level of refinement, it'll either be another stream or a video. Thanks for asking. All right. So, sometimes you can get stuck trying to, look at everything here and piece everything together at the same time. So you can be better off just starting to add some design constraints. So add some relations between them, between certain things, and that'll start to give you some more structure to what it is that you are putting together. So I had this open one, ibuprofen, eardrops, eye drops, Panamax, Telfast. These two here are like the most regularly used packets, but we don't need all of them accessible all the time. But typically we want to grab one and grab one that's at the front because that's the one that's open. So one thing I'm wondering with this is if I should rotate the entire design, or which is like, where's the front of my design going to be? I could make it over here on this edge and just design it that way, front. Oh, that's not quite right. Change the font, 30. All right, so we could say that that's the front of the box and I just work on that design, or I could properly rotate these around because my front plane's actually here. So now I'm thinking about, okay, what gets used the most? What gets used the least? Some of the least stuff is probably the medicine that kind of sits at the back, right? This packet of tissues is like a spare pack of tissues. That hardly gets used. I think these get used a bit more. I think this stuff hardly ever gets used. So if we start to position things, depending on how often they get used, well, some of these that have been there for years, we put them towards the back. Okay, earbuds tubs, pretty rare. The stuff that's regular is the Telfast, the Panamax, the eye drops, the nasal spray, right, and the puffer. So then I start to see a bit of a structure coming from this. And I'll show you how we're going to tweak it. I want to have the eye drops. Interesting thing with the eye drops, they break up into single containers. So they start as like a 5, but you can break them off. I think I will just keep this at the front over here, just because if I want to rotate this whole sketch, I have to change the pattern, change the 43 by the 7, and it's a lot of mucking around. I don't really need to do that. I can just say the front is over my left and I'm going to build it along that way. So I'm going to put all the older stuff at the back, the stuff that gets rarely used, and put the stuff that's regularly used at the front side. And what I was thinking is that there's one row at the front, and that's like the first off row. That's the stuff that gets used the most. So these 3 things here, 1, 2, 3, that is all very regularly used. The puffers here, I've got 2 of them. I use them. Obviously, I only need access to 1 immediately. So I can put a second one just slightly behind it like this. And that's a bit taller as well. So having that behind the eye drops, I'm going to be able to easily lift that up behind whatever it is. So I could have that, all that stuff at the front, and then anything else that is here, this is all the stuff that's hardly ever used in comparison. Now, the nasal spray and the tell fast, they go together because they're for the same kind of issue, right? These two. Let me show this. All right. So those tablets and this, I would use these at the same time on the same day if I've got bad hay fever. So if this bottle was sitting behind this, could I pull it out easily? Like, what's the best solution for this combo? Might it actually be that I have these two side by side and then I have more of these behind this? So I've got like one open packet at the front and the rest of the packets behind it. That's where we look at on the design over here, these two. If we talk about this slide here, so let's go and edit it now. I'm going to edit the linear pattern. I'm going to reduce the number to 6. I'm going to add a second number. I'll go this direction, 43, so I want that to be 45. Part, press OK. It's updated that sketch for me. And so what my plan is, actually I'm going to change that again, but this time I'm just going to change the number. So I'll change from a 6 to a 5. I'm going to have, on one side I'll have the nasal spray. So I'm going to have that in front of this row. So I'm going to give that a dimension. And then in front of the other row, I'll just have like one open packet. Like this. Now, I don't have to sketch a new one. I can select the old one and do another linear pattern just on that one feature and just put that one forward. All right, so now I've got my 10 packets. I've got one that is open. This would be the open packet. And I have my nasal spray. And so that's starting to give me some structure as to how one side of that box is going to look. That's good. That is useful. So next up, I'm just going to move some of these back. So the eye drops aren't too big. Put in the puffers behind them. I think it's fine. Over here, we've got the Panamax. So this is like headache type medicine. And then over here, this one, this is like the heavy duty headache medicine, which we could put behind it. We see the lineup doesn't quite work perfectly, so we might have to adjust them. Okay. Hello, Jez. You're designing the packets. No, I'm not designing the packets. I'm designing organisation for my home medical box. So rather than grabbing a 3D print off the internet and grabbing a random box or series of boxes and putting them all together, I'm designing something custom to suit me. All right. If I want to spend time and get something nice, that's the best way to do it. So what I've done so far is I've measured roughly all the components that I want to put into it. I'm just using a simple sketch rather than assembly. Part of that reason is I don't want to have to create a separate part for all of these. I just need the layout. So using them in a sketch layout like this lets me manipulate my sketch and work out how big this box is going to be. All right. So I've got those two at the front. Eye drops are pretty rare as well. And I think this one here, if I swap these two, I think that would be fine. So I'm going to grab this dimension here delete it. I'm just going to move this one over here. Put a new dimension on this side. And then grab this box. So this is the large box is the ibuprofen. Ibuprofen is going to go behind. Or should we do a similar thing? I don't want to make it too wide. So I don't think going 4 boxes wide is a good idea. I think going 3 wide is okay. If we have a look at the dimensions of this so far, it's about 150. Keeping in mind a 3D printer max bed size is around 250 or 220. So I want to try and keep it contained, more contained than that. And in fact, if I could keep it skinnier, I would. Let's put the 3 most obvious things at the front. I'm happy with that spacing. I want to do a little bit extra spacing on this side. So let's put 10 millimeters in there. And then let's make this one, let's put this one on the origin. So it's going to lock that position. This position here is not locked because of the construction line. Let me make that vertical. And then let me get this side and lock this one in. So I've got a height. I just need to get that position. I'm going to put those. See, I've got this round one in front. I don't really want to use up all that space at the moment. Like I could put this one out a bit more and it would be fine. Wouldn't be an issue at all. In fact, I might get it to be in the middle of this. And I may as well then get this one to also be in line. Thanks, Jez. Yeah, this should be pretty neat, I think, when it's done. But just spending a bit of time on the layout to get that set up. Right, so ibuprofen coming behind this. The other thing we can think about, you know, when we're doing the packaging, sizes, or the layouts. So the box that's going behind this one, if I had the box on the side, can I see any information about what it is? I can if I have it up this way. All right, but it's more easy to see the name on the front of the box. So do I want the front of the box viewing the front or the side of the box? I think that'll come down to what else is going to fit behind it. So what I'm going to do is just put some space in. I'll put 10 millimeters and I'm going to line it up with the bottom edge. So get both of these lines and make them collinear. So collinear will get them to line up. And so you can see those couple are all starting to group together now. And so we're starting to get an idea of how the whole thing might sit. Now we can start to piece together what's going to fit in the gaps. All right, so I said everything at the front is like used regularly, right? So let me draw this one just as a reminder. Okay, so this direction used regularly. And this direction used rarely. Flip, flip. All right, so if that's the front, just want to keep easy access to that. This stuff at the back does not matter so much. All right, so some tissues that fits in neatly in that area. Then we've got a couple of bigger tubs. And we've probably got a couple of elements that we might be able to fit in the middle, right? A couple of these smaller tubes. Lip balm, a couple of medicines. Lens cleaner over here. Bix inhaler. Those two look very similar in size, so they are probably good to put those together. Some rarer medicine stuff at the back. And look how our fit is starting to come along. Now these open earbuds, wonder if they're going to get used again. Because if I got rid of them, these could fit over the top. Or I just spread everything out a little bit more. But let's now, I'm just going to accept that sketch and save. I don't want to lose any of this work. Let's just do another sketch. Kev, is it going to be like a tray with adjustable dividers or with lift out pots? No. Because I think that's overcomplicating for what it needs to be. I'm designing like a one-time, totally custom, organizing tray for myself. It's not going to fit for anyone else. So I'm not going to try and make a fancy system here, like a mini Gridfinity or anything like that. So I think just having the dividers in the right place, getting the right size is more important, and making it look nice is going to be more important than adjustable function. If I ever had big changes to this, I can come back and change the 3D print, like I've got the files there. What I do need to allow for is some other stuff to be added in over time. So I'll probably give it some extra space. Before I do that, I just want to have a look at how big it is. So if we have a look at the dimensions here, we're looking at 169 by 290. And it's that 290 which makes it seem a bit big. And I'm thinking maybe we should have one that is the common stuff. And so maybe I do design a stackable unit where all the uncommon things are in the bottom box and all the common stuff is in the top box. Because the 290 is a bit big. And if I can make it really compact, then I can do other things in my cabinets in this space. So that's another way of thinking about the problem. If I think that all the stuff that's already defined over on the right is common and used regularly, then that sets like my top container. And everything that's here over on the right can be a secondary one. Okay, so all of this stuff here, what was this one? Eye drops, yep, that's pretty regular. So why don't we use this as a guide? These elements can be our regularly used. A lot of it's like allergy medicine. Okay, nasal spray, hay fever, headache, stronger headache, eye drops, and then a couple of medicine packets. And then that whole unit could be pretty small, 180 by 180, with a bit of space in the back if we wanted to. And then I could have a second box with all this stuff. Second container. Yeah. Cool. So let's work to that idea. I'm just going to add a frame around this now. I'm going to have like the minimum wall, which is, okay, from anything that's in here, I want a minimum sort of space between it. Between this and this, so let's say 6 millimeters. This is going to give me a bit of room to do some things on the outside. Yeah, I've got plenty of height, so I don't think that's a problem. Or it might not so much be a height, but it might just be 2 units side by side that look very similar. They don't actually need stacked, they can just sit on the sides. Hey Jesulo. Checked out your channel, saw a lot on SolidWorks in my second year of engineering, started with Fusion. Is SolidWorks more recommended in the industry? SolidWorks would say yes. Fusion would say Fusion is more recommended. Really depends what your industry is, where you would like to work. You're a second year student, so you might not know yet. But it varies everywhere. SolidWorks has over 8 million clients worldwide, clients being users, sorry, 8 million users. They have some rather big numbers as far as industry customers. But yeah, it really depends more. I would look more local and at the type of jobs that you're interested in and see what they're using. Good question. Yes, Kev, slot the two together side by side. I reckon that's a good idea. So as an example, we can look at it this way. Now I've got this border that gives me my kind of size. I could tweak this. If we have a look at the space, we can see that, I don't know why that dimension just caused an error. I reckon I could move this top section back. All right, and move this forward. As I move this forward, it's going to move this forward and closer. So I'm going to look here at like this, use this center line. Put that in line and put this one in line. And see, that made the whole thing a bit smaller. So here I'm going to use as a guide some driven dimensions. So here I'm adding an extra dimension, but I actually just want it to tell me how big it is. So I'm going to leave it as driven. Jezia, you're welcome. Any more questions? Let me know. And the same for this. So you can see the difference with the driven dimensions, they're grey rather than black. So if I change other things, they will update. Do we know yet if the rarely used will fit in the regular use space? We are about to find out. Because what I'm doing here, I've set this border that's given me a rough guide. I'm going to do another sketch pattern. I'm going to use the y-axis. I'm going to put that 200 millimeters away over here. Okay. I forgot to dimension it. That's all right. Just put a dimension here. What is going on there? Why does that want to say overdefined? That is annoying. Hold on. Go back and fix that. Select chain, linear sketch pattern, change this, 200, add spacing. Okay, there we go. Now I can grab all of these things and see if they're going to fit. And if I want to do it really accurately, I'm going to select that chain, do an offset, 6 millimeters, reverse, and make the offset as construction, because that's kind of my guideline for if I want the same spacing from the side on everything. So those puffers are pretty big. But everything else I think is really reasonably small. So open earbuds maybe at the front. Earbuds tubs, the back. We've got a container here. So just trying to optimize. And what would be good in this one is if there's a couple of spaces for future expansion. Look at that. Everything looks like it's going to fit. So I'll add a couple of more relations. For instance, like this one, I'll just drop that on that corner. The puffers here, I can make those tangent. make those tangent. So that spacing looks pretty good. We have a lip balm. You can go right to the front. You have a tub here that can sit in that gap. I can just move the dimensions around to make it a bit easier. See what everything is. Okay. So it looks like we got space, which is great. Everything will fit. So we had a medical tube here, fixed inhaler, prednisolone. I'm just, again, thinking, okay, if this is the front, some of the bigger items, like there's 2 stacks of this at the back. What's bigger? This is going to be like an open area. Probably want to put the lens cleaner at the back because it doesn't get used very often. It's probably even not the right space for storing it, but we have it there right now, so I think it will go somewhere else. But it looks like the spacing is fine. If we put some of these in a sort of backward area, then I can just make a series of holes here, put different things in them. All right, spacing works. So let's consider that these would be stacked or side by side. Yeah, tracking reasonably for time. We might not finish both, but I want to at least finish one. So let's work on this one over on the right. So now we've got the size. Now we can start to build up and start to get a bit of an idea of what it's going to look like. Now, do we want to tweak anything before we start building up? Do we want to make it perfectly square, for instance? That way it might be more adaptable to different locations. So I've currently got like 166.5 by 153. But I can edit this sketch and I can very simply just use that as the guide, but then build a larger square around it. In fact, I don't need to change that sketch. I can do my new sketch on the top. I can do a larger rectangle. So let's say I wanted to make it, well, we could probably do 160 by 160. I don't really need this big gap in the middle here. All right, so let me show you a trick. Oh, sorry, 160. This is 165 here. Anyway, I want to show you this tip. So we've got everything lined up here. We can see the dimension on the outside is 153. Let's say I want to make this dimension 160. Well, what needs to happen? I can click this dimension, I can right click, go driven. Now it's going to give me an error. And what those errors are pointing out are what dimensions are in conflict with this number being 153. All right. I'm looking at this one here, number 10. I'm also looking at this number 6 and this number 6. I think those are the 3 dimensions that if we tweak, we can change this dimension here. So if I right click number 10 and make it driven, now my sketch is no longer over-defined or with errors, and I can change the 153 here and make it 160, and it's going to spread out this 17 dimension The alternative is, okay, let's say I wanted this 17 to be smaller. I've got a 6 and a 6 here. One way of doing it is to select this dimension and make it equal to this one. That adds an equation to your file. And equations can sometimes get a bit messy. You don't need to do it. There's another way to do it. It's through the simple use of construction lines. So I can do a construction line from this corner to this. So I'm going to select that one and make it for construction. It's a bit hard to see, but that's a construction line. We're going to do the same thing over on this corner. Let's just do it here. Make this line for construction. Now I'm going to select both lines and give them equal constraints. Now it's, once again, it's over-defined my sketch because I've got 2 dimensions, I've got 2 lines, and they're both equal. Too many things, even though they're the same dimensions, trying to control the same thing. If I grab this number 6 dimension up the top here, right-click it, and go driven, now everything can work itself out again. And here's the next trick. Let's say I want the spacing between all 3 to be the same. Well, let's put in another construction line in here. Make that for construction. I'm going to right-click this number 6 over here, make it driven. Okay, now everything is underdefined, right? Like we can drag it around. I'm going to grab this construction line and this one, make them equal. And then SolidWorks has worked out the spacing for me based on the 160. So it's gone 160 top to bottom, but here I've got 9.67, here 9.67, here 9.67. And it's all about controlling which constraints, which relations, dimensions are actually driving your sketch, your model for you. So we've got 160 top to bottom. If we want to get this one to 160, it'd be a similar thing. We can right click here, go driven. Then we have to look at, okay, what are the elements that are over defining it? I'm going to look at these gaps. So make that one driven. I might make this one driven as well. So when you make multiple things driven, some of those are going to be underdefined. So they're going to go blue. And then what other gaps we have? We have this 6 at the front, but I'm going to keep that. So in a little bit of a different method, this time I'm just going to change this dimension to 160, or probably better yet, I'll take this back to driven, but I'm just going to make these 2 lines equal. Right, so that brought in that rear edge. So it's really this 10 and this 3.5 that are here. It's those 2 dimensions which are setting the position. Once again, we could grab a construction line. Might just do one here and do one over here. Select both lines for construction, make them equal. And now, once again, everything's fully defined, but now I have a perfectly square sketch layout. Now it's starting to look really neat, right? Those little tweaks. And it means that this other side, that's 160, that's 160. And we can see, like, if we move some things around, that's still going to fit as well. So I'm very confident with how this looks. Okay, let's move into 3D. I think we've done enough layout work. Let's start to build it up. So we're going to start by sketching here. And I want to think about how I want this to look, how I want it to act. Do I want to make it difficult to get things in and out? Do I want to have to take a lid off every time, slide a lid off? Do I want everything open? Do I want everything open but a way to cover it up? And I'm kind of leaning to that option, where, let's say everything's got its positions, but you can take a lid off, and then you can just take what you need, put the lid back on. We're very lazy though here. Lazy. Lazy is maybe a hard word. I want it to be easy to access. So, you know, in the middle of the night, we go out, we just want to get some headache medicine. We don't want to have to fumble around with a lid. We just want it to be right there. So maybe I could design it so it could have a lid, but I don't need to put the lid on. It's more about having the things organized and accessible, rather than anything special outside of that. So I'm just building up a bit of thickness, and I'm just giving some, I'm just thinking through in my mind how I kind of want that to look. I would love to do something that's kind of built up a little bit before those edges. Maybe 3 millimeters in. Because I want to give everything that's in there like a bit of a support at the bottom. So wherever we do these slots, I don't want you to put it in the slot and the whole thing just falls over straight away. So it kind of needs to come up with a bit of height. At the same time, I want to do something a bit neat on the outside. I was thinking a chamfer around these edges. So chamfer up to a square and then some areas cut out. Now, the reason why I don't edit this sketch here or use it in any of my features is I can just click on this sketch, and it's because I've got instant 3D shown. When I click on the sketch, I don't get that dimensions. If I instant 3D, click on the sketch, I get all the notes. So it makes it very easy. I don't need to change anything, but I can just see what it was for. That one's the nasal spray. So that's a round kind of tube, which sits up quite a bit. That doesn't need a lot of depth. And what I'm trying to do here is just set the depth level to what might be, this edge here. The height between those, between there and there, what did I make it? 6 millimeters. It's okay. I'm not taking up too much height. Yes, it's a little bit of 3D printing, but I think that's fine. So this is just a cut down, and I can use that edge as like my guide. Or there's another way I could actually build this, which I might do. I might flip this direction. Maybe we just make it 4. And then I've got my second one, which I'm going to change, put it back on this plane, and change the direction so this one comes up. And then put the chamfer back on, but completely flip which edge it's on. There we go. So now my top plane is where the sketch is. All right, so if I want anything to come up from there, like I can just start a sketch on the top plane, grab this circle, convert, do an extruded cut, just go through all, and that's starting to create my cutouts for my objects. So now it makes me think, how am I going to create all these cutouts? Do I want it to go into the material, or do I actually want to create all the dividers that are going around it? Or something in between that? There's a few different ways of doing that, obviously. Let's just look at an example here. Let's say I just did everything there. I've done one cutout there. Let me do another one. Let me convert the entire sketch. And then let's close this one or delete it. Let's delete this. Let's delete all this area. All right, so I've got all of that. I could just go and get rid of these as well. Get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. Okay. Now I can cut through all. All right, so I've got all my dividers. They're not tall enough yet. We know that. I could potentially shell. Not going to work. It's very small. I think the gaps in between them are all too small. If it's not giving me a preview, I think particularly between these, doesn't want to do it. Shelling this way works. As soon as I click a couple of faces, or this top face, it doesn't want to work. But I was imagining doing all the cutouts and then just kind of thickening everything down. There is an alternative to doing that, which, if I roll back to here, this step, could be to do extrude thins everywhere. So let's convert this sketch once again. Get rid of these, everything that we don't need. All of that. All of this. All right, so I've got all my edges. Let's do an extrude up. And I can change it to a thin feature. And so this is one way of creating like all the walls without doing all that extra work. And if, as I increase the thickness, you can see where they overlap. It's just going to overlap. That's fine. This is a pretty neat way of doing it. Obviously, we have to do different dimensions in different places. But let's say we wanted 20 millimeters. Merge. Hive. All right, look at all those dividers. That's a pretty reasonable way of creating, just what we need on the outside. To hold all the individual parts. Now I've done this boss extrude up, but this boss extrude that comes up, could I change that? Yeah, if I didn't want it to intersect with everything, that's a bit trickier. Probably what it needs to be is a different kind of sketch. I would have to select, all right, so let me show you this trick. If I want to do everything on the outside, I'm going to go convert entities. I'm going to select this face, but I'm going to select all inner loops, delete that face selection, and you see all the selections that it's got for me? It's got all the outsides of those boxes. But press OK. Now we're going to extrude up. See, it's just done on the outside. That's kind of neat. Chamfer. Cut. I don't need those. Is this our way of doing it? I think if we did this, like I could keep all the external boxes pretty simple and then add some nice radiuses, etc. to everything on the outside. I'm pretty certain that this thickness, 1.5 millimeters would be quite fine everywhere, like suitable, strong enough. I'm not going to have any issues with that. If I want to change it, I can just select this feature here and just change the thickness. Now, will it cause errors? That's a good question. I think it's okay. If we want to double check, let's go to the top view and let's have a look at our sketch. So long as we've got all the clearances still the same, it's fine. When we did this sketch, remember we did usually like a 2 mil spacing, which basically means if I want to do that 2 mil wall everywhere, that's going to work. So what do you think, guys? How are we looking? Could this be a pretty easy option for creating our box? What I was thinking was this chamfered edge on the outside is where I could have my box cover. So what I could have in future is, let me just draw it like this. I could have a box that starts, it starts anywhere. Let's say start it up here, comes down, is a thin feature to the inside, but it's going to come down to this body. Change the direction, uncheck merge result. Right, have a look at this cover. You know, this could be my box cover that just comes and sits on the top of everything. And it's going to neatly sit like on those chamfered edges, for instance. So it would self-locate. As long as it's got enough clearance around things. But yeah, that's where I think I could take this design. Yeah, I think this is a very neat, simple way of doing it. Now, what else could I do to make it look a little bit better? Just going to suppress that feature for now. If I think about what else it needs, is that enough support where I've got something like this packet? If that's just being supported at the bottom, is it going to like tip over? I guess it depends how well and tight it is. I think it'll be okay. It's not going to tip that far because it can't. It's how high we come up on the edge is going to have an impact on that. If we're coming up, where is this tablet going? This tablet box, this one itself is Telfast that's going in these ones here. The height of this at the moment is 20 millimeters, so 2 centimeters, so not much. It's actually quite small. I think we could probably double that, 40. We have a look at this dimension, 35, 40. 40 looks like a pretty good number. It'll look pretty big on this one. So I need this to go up another 20 millimeters. So wherever this is here, 20, change that to 40. Not everything needs to go up 40. It's thinking about it. There we go. See, that starts to look a little bit over the top, doesn't it? Let me undo that, bring it back down. Instead, I could be selective about what comes up 40. So if maybe it's these faces here, I could say, okay, maybe these come up 10. That's where the move face tool comes in very handy. This is all one face, so just offsetting it up 10 millimeters is very easy. All right, let's have a look. Let's just have a think about our parts. So we've got nasal spray here. That's fine. It's probably not going to need that height, but I'll leave it. We have eye drops. I think they will need more height, particularly because they're separate. These two at the back of boxes, they're not going to need much height at all. So those could even be less. So I can grab both of these and let's just drop them down 10 millimeters. I still want it to have a bit of height. 20 millimeters isn't much. Let's leave that. So yeah, maybe it's just these ones at the front. All right. Put up those three. Now, what I might do before I 3D print it is just 3D print like a section of this. So I might put it in the software and put a line through here and just print the front section before I print the whole thing. It's one way of doing it. But before we do that, let's just clean it up or improve the appearance a little bit. And generally that means like we're going to add some fillets now. We're going to round off a bunch of things. We've got consistent wall thicknesses. That's great. I want to put some fillets in, particularly the internal corners. So I'm going to grab like this edge here, and I've got a 0.5 millimeter radius, and I'm going to go over my fillet pop-up, and I want to do everything internal. So I'm just going to go through until I get the right ones. No, all concave. Yes, that's everything on the insides. Looks good. Okay. All right, so if we have a look at what it's done all my inset edges for me. Just a small radius. And the reason I want to do a small radius here is because I'm going to do a bigger one on the outside. All our thicknesses here are 2 millimeters. So on the outside edges, we're going to put in a 2.5 mil radius. So I'm going to go fillet 2.5 mil. I'm going to select an edge, and I'm just going to look through my previews again to see what comes up. I don't want any of those options, so I'm just going to go to connected to start loop, and I'm going to do a few of these. All right, so I'm just getting the outsides. All right, now I'll just do those 3 as an example because I'm going to change something here, and what I'm going to change is the order of the fillets. You can see how we get this kind of small fillet here and this large one here. We can fix that by reordering these fillet selections. So I'm going to grab this one here, drag it down. And now we get a nice round fillet because fillet number 2 has done its work before the fillet number 1 selection. All right, and then I'm going to save. Then I can edit number 2. And now I'm going to add a few more selections. All right, so I'm going to get some more of these other outside corners. So you can see when you use this selection tool, it becomes quite easy. Okay, all of those are done. I'm getting this weird shape here. I think what we do is we move the chamfer down. No, we can't, because the chamfer is at root. I can't move the chamfer down here because of this extrude thin feature. But this extrude thin feature, see in the feature tree, it's got nothing linked to it underneath. So I can move the extrude thin all the way to the bottom. It's going to get an error, but I don't mind. I'm going to suppress that, keep it for later. The chamfer, I'm going to bring down here. Doesn't want to work. That's okay. I'm going to edit the chamfer now. Just going to reduce. Yeah, it's because I've got a small radius here and a larger chamfer, so it's not going to calculate. In fact, you can see what's going on here. The size match is wrong. So I'm actually going to make a change. I'm going to remove all of these outside curves because I'm going to give them a larger radius. From a design point of view, how you want to do that, let me roll back up in the tree. This distance here is 3 millimeters. So whatever this is, I want to add that onto whatever the fillet's going to be on the outside, which is 5.5. And what that'll give me is consistency in this curve. Like, this is pretty basic geometry. Now when I do the chamfer, See, the chamfer works and is consistent around those edges. Okay. Roll down again, got our next fillets. I've got this sharp edge at the top. I'm wondering what I can do about that one. Don't think it needs the same radius as everything else. See, this one here gets a bit close, and so it changes that radius. It comes up a little bit, like that's not ideal. Everywhere else apart from here is okay. So this is where it is really handy to be looking at, again, your driving sketch. And that's what we've created here with sketch 1. Right, we come all the way back to the early sketch. And now we can start to adjust again and say, hey, what do we want to move to get, you know, if I want to get a little bit clearance here so I don't have this weird fillet, I have to move this circle back. This gap is a bit small. I've got all this room here. I don't have much room here, but this has room at the front. So you can see where you can start to make like different judgments about how you're going to do it. At the moment, I think this is controlled with these two being in line and with these two being in line. So I'm wondering if I bring this one forward, which is this number here, let's go bring that forward slightly. Now, what has that done here? All these 7.25 spacings have been kept the same there. What I want to do is move this one backwards. And I want to keep my 160. Where is my what's linked to my origin? That's what I need to check. My origin is here. All right, so I'm just going to click origin and I'm going to hide this sketch, but I'm going to go here and turn on my origin. All right, so I remember my origin is there, that little point. Lost everyone. Origin's there. That spacing's okay. So how can I get everything to move here? Based on that one. Where is our spacing control? Its spacing's controlled from this one. So we go to 23. Bring that back. It's giving me all this extra space here. And then that's 6 at the front. This one I can tweak. 8. So I actually want to go take this back to 25. Now we can get some errors sometimes, that's okay. Just temporarily made this driven. Now I'm going to uncheck that, make it driving, increase it. Now I think it didn't like it before, now it's okay. All right, as we gradually move that side forward, we've cleaned up this radius here. So that side is all looking all right. Down the bottom, we need to tweak this side because this has got too close at the back. That's where I can see these ones. If I bring this forward, it's going to spread out on this side. All right, so bring all that forward. And what I want to increase is that one on the back edge. Change that to 8. So it's squishing those up. And what I can tweak is I don't need these ones to be in line, collinear here. I'm going to grab this and make those ones collinear, so I'm moving those ones to the back. And then just tweaking those dimensions once again. So spacing's looking okay. Like on this side here, I don't have any weird fillets anymore. Everything's inside the front edge. So now it's looking much neater. I think our last steps, we can decide if we want to put like a radius on all these edges and how big that might be. I think we could do 0.5 everywhere because that's generally 2 millimeter widths. So that gives us a millimeter on the top. And then 0.5 millimeter radius on each side. All right, I think we're just about done with this organizer. What this hasn't allowed for is, any expansion of the system. Stacking wise, it would work, but I need to make the other layer for it. I think we'd have to do that in the next one, in the next session. But what I can say, what we will do from here, I will 3D print this. I don't think it's going to take too long. I think it'll be an overnight print. I might test a few sections, or I might just do the whole thing. Depends how long the print's going to be and what sort of material it's going to take. But once we're happy with this, then we can work on the next section and working out if we're going to stack them up or otherwise. So, all right, so we're about to wrap it up. Thank you everyone that tuned in. I'd like to say, I'd like to hear your feedback, what you thought of the stream, of the tips there, anything that was really useful to you, let me know. If you are interested in your own projects or taking some things on, come check out the Skool community. It's all pretty much free apart from this foundations course. But yeah, the Lego projects in here can teach you how to do modeling like I do it here. I've shown you today. And I'm big plans to add to this. The library itself here is a great place for you to find your own example parts that you want to follow along and model with. So check that out. But I'm always accessible via, commenting on the YouTube, jumping in the Skool here, messaging me, or LinkedIn or Discord. So yeah, come by sometime. Thanks for tuning into the stream. I will post in the community how I've gone with this and where I take it as the next steps. Questions, Rohit? SolidWorks, is that the software you're using? Yes, this is SolidWorks. I'm using SolidWorks 2023. Starting on FreeCAD, cool, very good. I've never used it, heard some decent things. Yeah, love to hear how it goes. Kev, very good, makes me want to design an organizer now. Absolutely, yeah, once you start, you'll you get hooked and you want to get everything organized because you got your own 3D printer. There's so much you can do. And I think the thing with the organizers I found is it might seem like a very huge monumental task to get started, but what I found once I did Gridfinity for a couple of draws and got into it, you get the momentum and then you can just add to it as you go. You don't have to do everything at once. You just do a couple of trays, a couple of inserts, and just build up and use a lot of the off-the-shelf designs, because a lot of them are really good, particularly like the buckets for screws and things like that. Use those ones, get a lot of the easy stuff organized, and leave the harder stuff for later. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you everybody. Planning on doing these every fortnight, every 2 weeks. So I'll be back here hopefully in 2 weeks' time on the Thursday. Keep an eye out for the channel to subscribe and see where that one is, or in the Skool community. And if you've got any questions, shoot them through. All right, thanks very much. Have a good night, everyone. See ya.